a heart full of love.
Hey YouTube, it's your girl, Mama Kathy. I'm coming to you today with a story that is, as you could tell by the title, it's kind of hard video to make. So before I tell you guys what happened, I'm going to tell you a story of my daughter. She's my oldest daughter. I'm not going to use her name in this video because there's really no need to. I'm just going to refer to her as my daughter. She is 39 years old. I had her when I was 14. And as I already said, she was my oldest daughter. And as you can tell by the title, it says, my daughter died and God is good. Okay. I'm going to give you a backstory before I tell you how God is good. Okay. When my daughter was 16, she gave birth to a little girl. And that little girl grew up and she's like 22 or 23 now. And I raised her as my own child because at the age of 19, my daughter started dancing in clubs here in Cleveland. And she's gorgeous. I'm going to insert a picture. She's super time gorgeous, nice body, and all the guys just flocked to her. The girls, of course, were jealous of her. I was off work. Me and her dad was off work this day. We was at home alone because, we raised 9 kids, okay? Then everybody was at school. Me and him was at home alone watching TV in the living room. And she came over and she said, I need to talk to you and Dad. So I was like, okay, what is it? She said, I want you to know that I am an exotic dancer. That's how they put it back then instead of just saying stripper. And I was like, you are what? Because the last time I heard, she was a clerk in the gas station. And she said, yeah, I've been dancing now for almost a year. And I just thought that you should know, what's going on. And I say, well, you're 19 years old. You don't live at home anymore. You pay your own bills. You take care of your child. I can't tell you what to do. I said, but I will give you a little bit of advice. I said, you've been dancing for quite a while, so you should already know this. If you have to drink or do drugs to get up on that stage and dance, then that's not the profession for you. And I know in your profession, one of the things y'all do is try to get the guys to buy y'all drinks. If I was you, I would already have it established with the bartender that when I tell you that I'm getting a drink, that she give me an orange juice or either a ginger ale. You understand? And just have them thinking that I'm actually drinking liquor, but I'm not. You understand? And if you do have a drink, never leave that drink unattended because people will put something in your drink. She continued to do dance and there's no problems or anything. She continued, to come over, call home or whatever. Then one night, about 2:45 in the morning, I get a banging on my bedroom door. Okay? I ain't say the house door. I'm talking about my bedroom door. So that means you had to come in the house, up the steps, down the hallway to get to my room. So one of the kids must have opened up the door and let her in. One of the kids must have opened up the door and let her in. And when she came in, she was in full makeup, and you know how they make themselves up, and she had long wig on, and I had never seen her like that before. But it was something different. And she was like, she was nervous. She was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And she flipping her hair and she playing with it. And she's like, when I, um, when I, dang, Mom, you gotta help me. When I went to my locker, I found a note and it said that we are going to kill your daughter. And mom, mom, please help me. Mom, I don't know what to do. So here's me. I sit up in the bed and I look at her and I'm like, the hell are you on? Right then, I knew she was doing drugs. Okay? I just didn't know what type of drug she was doing. But that was the night that I found out that my daughter was snorting cocaine. Okay? One of the girls in the club, her name was Stephanie. She pretended to be my daughter's friend because, see, my daughter was the new girl in the club. It was called, what's the name of that club? I gave them hell over that club. Magic City on St. Clair in Cleveland, Ohio. I gave them hell up at that damn club. They couldn't stand my ass. They loved my daughter, but they couldn't stand my ass. You know, I was, even though she was 19, I was still my child, and you just wasn't going to just do whatever you wanted to do with her. It's just the way I felt. But anyway, getting back to Stephanie, she befriended my daughter in the club, you know, trying to show her the ropes, the ins and the outs of that nightclub. Because before she had been bouncing around, before she found a home strip club. Okay, that's what I called it, you know. This was a little hole in the wall type of place, okay? So what I found out was that she was dancing topless. She told me that she didn't take her clothes off, that she wear little flimsy outfits. So, but anyway, getting back to Stephanie. So Stephanie befriended her and, you know, gave her the ins and the outs of that particular club, Magic City, and how to make her money, okay? So Stephanie was already hooked on cocaine. So my daughter was not on drugs of any kind. And she was gorgeous, like you already seen in a picture. And she was jealous of her. Because by her being the new girl, she was making all the money in the club. All the guys were saving their money when she went up on that stage and danced. Because one thing the girl could do was dance. And I mean all types of dance. She was hip hop and shaking that booty up there on that stage. So anyway, Stephanie was jealous. So she set out and she had a plan. So she said, you know, if you really want to make some money, they had a back room in a club where the girls would go back there and prostitute. Okay, so not only did she get her hooked on cocaine, she got her prostituting in the club, you know, to make more money. Okay. And my daughter is very free-hearted, so of course she knew my daughter would share whatever she got with her. And in order for my daughter to do the prostitution type thing, she had to get high. So first she started drinking, and then Stephanie hooked her up with cocaine. Okay, so then that's when she started snorting cocaine. Okay, and how I know that she was dancing topless was because me and my husband and her boyfriend, her daughter's father, we went up to the club, and I sat in the back and I stalked her every move. She didn't see me. She didn't know I was there. So this guy said, I don't know what's wrong with that lady over there, but she watching every single thing you do, right? But at this point, She was on the stage dancing when he told her. And I'm watching her up there with no, I watched her take off her bra. She didn't take off her panties, but she pulled them to the side while she was on the floor dancing. You understand? And I was just mortified. I was like, I was stuck. I mean, I was stuck like Chuck, okay? And so the guy, he said he whispered something to her, and she looked over in the corner, and she saw me and her dad sitting there. She grabbed her stuff off the stage and her money and everything, and she ran off to the back. It took her about 15 minutes before she came back out fully dressed. And she was like, "Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I thought I'd just come check out your show, see what you doing up here." I said, "But I thought you told me you don't do stuff like that." I said, "You up here braless? You up here showing your kitty cat to people? What the hell is that about?" You understand? So that's when I knew that she was doing stuff that she shouldn't have been doing. You understand? This was before I found out she was doing cocaine. And like I told you that day when she came upstairs and she was acting really weird, and that's when I found out she was on cocaine. And then I ain't gonna make this a long story about her dancing, but I gave them hell in that club. They couldn't stand me. And then eventually they fired her from that club because I told them I was gonna get them closed down. I said, because first of all, y'all letting a 19-year-old drink in a club and she's only 21. And y'all running a prostitution ring out of your strip club, is what I told them. So they fired her and let her go, and she started working at different clubs. Okay, so that's just to tell you how it started with her in doing drugs. She met all different types of people, doing drugs. But I'm going to tell you one story that sticks with me. She was missing for 4 days, and we could not find her. We called everywhere. We called every hospital. We called every police station that we could, and we could not find her. She had that. This was the first time she had ever pulled a disappearing act on us, and we didn't know where she was at. Well, 4 days later, here she comes showing up. She had been in the hospital. What had happened was she had met this guy in a club, and he spent so much money on her in the club, with her dancing, tipping her and all that kind of stuff, for dances and stuff. And then they left the club and they went to a hotel to continue to party. Okay, so he was, doing drugs with her and everything. And when he fell asleep, she went in his wallet and she took all his money. Okay, now this man had already been generous enough with her, you understand? But she took all his money because that's what the girls did, you understand? So about a year later, okay, she has hell, okay? And this guy was like, can you come do a party for me? You understand? He said, I just want you. And so she was already high, messed up. At this point, she was no longer snorting cocaine because she had burnt her nose out. And every time she tried to snort it, it ran blood. So what was the next best thing? Yeah, you got it. She started smoking crack. I couldn't believe that she did that. After she saw and watched what we went through with my sister and my brother, smoking crack at a very young age, 15 and 16. I couldn't believe that she literally even tried cocaine, but that now that she was smoking crack out of a stem. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, about a year later, the guy saw her in a club dancing, and he said he wanted her to do a private party for him. So he said, okay. So he took her to this little rinky-dink hotel down on Superior. And they went in there, they, partying, drinking, doing drugs or whatever. And then after they had been in the room for a while, he said, you don't remember me, do you? And she was like, no, do I know you? And then he was like, You should. He said, because you did a private party for me before. He said, but before you did that party, I gave you so much money, spent so much money on you on drugs and drinking, brought you back to the hotel. We had our private party and everything, and I gave you so much money for that. And then when I went to sleep, you robbed me. You took every dime I had. So, since you took my money, I'm going to take your life. And she was like, I don't even remember you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever I did. And then all of a sudden, she started to feel really funny. That last drink she took, he had put something in it. To this day, we still don't know what it was, okay? And she started feeling woozy, okay? And she made it to the door, and he grabbed her, okay? And he started to choke her. Some kind of way she got away from him. She got out the door. She's running down the hall, and he's chasing her, and she's yelling, help, help. Now she's messed up from whatever this drug is that he just gave her. Her body just wouldn't cooperate the way she needed it to cooperate. But just so happened, a security guard popped up out of nowhere, and that's how she made it to the hospital. She was in Lutheran Hospital for 4 days under Jane Doe. That's why we couldn't find her when we were calling all the hospital, because she was listed under Jane Doe. And we didn't know, because we had never had to deal with anything like that, that we should have asked them if they had any Jane Does. The hardest part for me was calling the morgue and asking them if they had a female body unidentified, and they said they did, and my heart dropped. And then they said, do she have any tattoos? And I was like, yes. I said, she has a rose petal and a stem going down her right leg, and she have a panther on her breast, and on her back it says legacy. And then the coroner said, no, that this lady that they had down there, God bless her soul, whoever she was, it wasn't my daughter. So I was very happy for that. When my daughter showed up, she told me the story of what had happened. And that just go to show you that when you out here scheming and conniving, you never know when that person coming back, because karma is a mother. She is real, okay? I don't care what nobody say, karma is real. So Stephanie was still in her life. And Stephanie had her do this party with her this one night with this one guy who owned a bar out in Orange Village, okay? And so at this time, she was engaged to this white boy named John, who was very abusive to her, okay? He bought her a beautiful engagement ring. I mean, cost some money, okay? But the cost of that ring, she paid for with being severely beaten. And he took a shotgun and pulled it to her young daughter's leg and told her if she didn't do such and such, he would shoot the baby with a shotgun, a loaded shotgun at that. I wanted to murder him when I found that out. You understand? But like I said, karma is real, and karma came back and got him. But this particular day, when her and Stephanie had did this private party, she had called me on the telephone, and she was like, Mom. And I could tell that she was high and gone out of her mind. She's like, Mom. She was like, they kidnapped me. They got me in this house and they won't let me out. They won't let me out. Mom, help me. Mom, help me. And then all of a sudden she said, bitch. And then the phone went dead. Not like somebody hung the phone up, but the phone just went completely dead silent. Okay? So I'm scared as hell, but I'm the FBI. Okay? I I'm gonna find my child out here. I have done found her on several occasions that I didn't even tell you guys about because I ain't no need to, because you already know when she in the type of life that she in, it has been some episodes, okay? So at any rate, she she was at this house with Stephanie, and her fiance John showed up. But see, I didn't know this at the time. And I found the guy. Um, I had a phone number in my phone from a long time ago from somebody that knew Stephanie and my daughter. I called that number and they said, "Oh yes, I just seen Stephanie and your daughter together tonight. They was with such and such. He owned the bar on blah blah blah." Okay, why did I still have that phone number in my phone? You understand? Why did she just happen to see my child with Stephanie and told me the guy's name who owned that bar? So I called that bar and I left a message and I told him, I said, my daughter was left with you to do a private party. I left this message on his voicemail at his job because it was, he owned the place, but I left the message on the bar's voicemail. And I said, and I'm going to need to talk to you ASAP. And this was a Sunday, okay? So the bar wasn't even open. So obviously he checks his messages, and next thing you know, about 20 minutes to a half an hour later, I get a phone call. And he said, your daughter was with me and Stephanie. Stephanie is still here. He said, but she left with some white guy and he threw her in the trunk of his car. And I was like, what? So I'm talking to Stephanie. Now, Stephanie knew that she was engaged to John. Stephanie could have told me the story, but Stephanie was just being a bitch, okay? So anyway, I said, well, let me speak back to him. So he got back on the phone. I asked him what kind of car it was, okay? And he said that he had wrote down the license plate number because it was kind of odd that this guy threw her in the trunk of the car. So he gave me the license plate number. So I called Orange Village Police Department and had them go to his house, okay? So when they went to his house, he gave them the license plate number. Come to find out, it was to the guy he lived in Parma. So I had to call the FBI department. See, I'm the FBI myself, but I called the real FBI people, okay? Because this is kidnap, okay? This is a kidnapping. So I called the real FBI because this is kidnapping. And so I had Orange Village involved. I had the FBI. I had Cleveland police because I lived in Cleveland, and then Parma police because that was where the license plate took them to a house in Parma. Now, keep in mind, I had never been to John's house, her fiance. I didn't like him, did not talk to him, so I never had a reason to go to his house. So I get a call from the person that was handling it with the FBI. And they said that they gave me the address and told me where to meet them at. And so I met them, and Orange Village Police was there, Parma Police was there, and Cleveland Police was there, and plus the FBI was there. And they were out there. I mean, those streets were packed with cars. I was like, wow, you would think this was a movie going on. You understand? So they banging on the door, banging on the door, banging on the door. Nobody wouldn't come in, and they using the bullhorn to tell whoever's in the house to come out with their hands up. And so next thing I see is my daughter walking out the house with her hands up with John. Now I did know what he looked like because I had seen him before. And she walking out the house with her hands up, looking crazy as hell. The wig she had on was needed to be brushed out or whatever. She just looked crazy. And come to find out, she was fighting with him And that's why he threw her in the trunk of the car so she couldn't get out, because he just wanted to take her home. But that was done. So anyway, he got in trouble for doing that. He didn't get charged with kidnapping. I forget what the charges was because it's been so long ago. Because like I said, she was very young at this time. So she probably was maybe 20 years old. So this happened almost like 20 years ago. And she lost custody of her first daughter. And her father wound up with her. And then when she was around 5 or 6 years old, we wound up taking care of her, me and my husband, and we raised her till she moved out on her own. After she signed up and went in the military at 17, and I had to sign the papers for her. And she's been in the military ever since. She's in the Army. She has a child, and the child is with me when she goes with me and her dad. But I'm the one that's legally responsible for her on paper when her mom goes away on duties with the military. So I'm not gonna make this like really super strung out, but I'm gonna get to the part where God is good, because I know you're probably wondering, you know, why did I say God is good? Because God is good every day, all day. Um, so it was a lot of stuff that happened in her life. She met this guy who is, I don't really like talking about people, but he is so ugly. And usually, if a person is nice, you don't see their outside. You understand? You just see that they're a nice person, and you just see a person. You don't recognize the fact that they're ugly. But he's ugly inside and outside. And he's very, very, extremely abusive to her. The stuff that he has done to her is ridiculous. She been through a lot in her life, a whole lot in her life, but it take a strong person to get through it. But I'm gonna tell you, she was clean for 2 years. She met this rich guy, because I always said that she would make somebody a wonderful wife and mother if she ever got herself together. She met this rich guy. He gave her everything she wanted, you know, clothes, cars, jewelry. I mean, everything she wanted. Took her out of town. I mean, she was just living a life of luxury. So she told him she wanted to get her breasts done. She didn't want to get big breasts or anything like that. She just wanted her breasts to be lifted back up to where they were. You understand? Because as she had more children, her breast drops like most women do. And she just wanted to have them lifted. She didn't want to have bigger breast size or anything like that, just have them lifted. So he spoiled her rotten. What did he do? He went out and he got her the breasts. Why did he do that? She had been clean for 2 years. She had managed to get her child, one of her kids, back from the county. The other kids had been with family members, you know, basically, except for one. My granddaughter, who got adopted in Florida, that I had just went to go see, and I told y'all about when I went down to Florida and I got to see her. And she'll be 17 in a couple days, and I hadn't seen her since she was like 5 months old, in a Greyhound bus station in the car seat sleep, getting ready to go back to Florida. Oh, let me tell you that part of the story first before I get to why God is good. So anyway, my daughter wound up getting married to this Hispanic guy, and they had a baby. She moved to Florida, and they literally got married in Florida. She had the baby in Florida. She had the baby October the 14th, and 17 years ago. And they came back up here to bring the baby so we can see the baby for Thanksgiving. Well, my daughter decided she wasn't going to go back with her husband at that point, but he needed to get back home because he needed to go back to work. And so she stayed up here with us for a while, and then her husband had got sick, and he called me on the phone, and he was like, Kathy, I'm trying to reach Quita and I can't reach her on her phone. I need you to find her for me. You the FBI. I know you know how to find her where she's at. I said, well, this time I ain't gotta look too hard. I said, because she been here the whole time. She downstairs sleep on the couch with the baby. And so then he talked her into it. She got on the grade. That's when we took her and the baby to the Greyhound bus station, and she went back to Florida. And her husband wound up with spinal meningitis, and he died. And but before he had died, like I said, he had gotten sick, and before he died, he had they had a roommate living with them, and he had gotten sick and he was in the hospital. Roommate and said she was going to get some cigarettes from the store, and a couple hours went past and she hadn't come back. So he called the husband's sister and to see if she wanted to get her what he should do with her niece. She said, call Children and Family Services. Now, this is her niece. Now, why would you do that? You understand? I had already told all of them that if anything happened, just give me a phone call and I'd be on the first thing smoking. And I was scared as hell to fly in an airplane and had never been in one till recently. I would have been on the first thing smoking. Now I need to get my grandbaby, okay? And I told them that, but instead of her calling me, she was being vindictive because she did not like my daughter. You understand? Because her name was on everything, far as his everything was being left to her from her brother, far as the properties that he owned and the bank accounts and everything. But it was in under both of them, the sister and my daughter. So, Children and Family Services came and took the baby. They called me. They came and took the baby. And then they left a card on the door for her to call. So she went, when she came back a few hours later, the card was there on the door. The roommate had already left. And so then she was in a fight to try to get her daughter back from Children and Family Services. So at any rate, she had started back messing with drugs while she was out there in Florida. Okay, because she had been clean at first. And when she went back to Florida, you know, when her husband had called, she started back doing drugs. And that was just a shit show in itself, being down there in Florida with no family because her husband died. And the sister ran to the bank, cleaned out all the bank accounts. All the bank accounts. Didn't leave her nothing, not one dime. When they were up there in the hospital, my daughter literally watched her husband die in the house because he was dead in that house. His brain stem snapped from the spinal meningitis. And they had him on life support in the hospital, and all his family was pressuring her to pull the plug, and she was like, no, she don't want to pull the plug. What if it's a chance that he can come through? She wanted to wait for her family to get there, and by me being too scared to get on the plane, we drove down there, and you know that took some time, and she didn't have a dollar to her name. And they were all eating food out there and everything. She in the lobby of the hospital in a little corner all by herself. None of them talked to her. None of them offered to buy her food. But they were pressuring her to pull the plug on him. And then finally she pulled the plug, and she has lived with the guilt of that for the rest of her life. She lived with guilt for that, you know, for the past, 16 years, she has lived with the guilt of pulling that plug. She didn't have anybody there for her, period. And I was surprised that they included her and the baby in his funeral services. So anyway, she was down there in Florida for about a year doing crazy stuff. First, she was getting herself together, and then she just started doing crazy stuff. She wound up being homeless. and I wound up having to get her back to Cleveland. I don't know how I did it, but got her back here in Cleveland, and she was still, messing up. But getting back to her being clean for 2 years, and getting her child back, one of her children back, and she got that breast lift. They gave her Percocet, and that was all they wrote. She started back drinking. She started back doing crack, and then I think she may have been clean one other time after that, but I'm not really sure. I can't really remember because it probably wasn't for that long. But anyway, she wound up getting with this ugly, inside and out, like I told you. His name is Rick. I can't stand him. He told her recently, my video that I had when I almost died in July. He had told her, that's why your mother's sick. That's why your mother dying. That was something very cold-hearted to say to somebody about somebody. You understand? Because you wouldn't want nobody to say that about your mom, now would you? And so, the only time he went and got a restraining order against her, and the only time he want her to come to the house is when he want to have sex, or if she have a little bit of cash and she has something to offer him, and then he put her out, and then she's homeless again. Okay, but her oldest daughter, the one who's in the military, did open up her home and let her mom come stay there. But her mother go out and Detroit and do drugs. So what happened was, this is how she died. She was on 87th in Detroit, and she had been drinking beer. She didn't want to smoke crack that day, she said. She was just, wanted to drink beer, okay? And she was on her fourth beer, and this truck came down, and he said, I got something for you. And then she was like, well, I got $20. And then he gave her some crack cocaine, and with the crack cocaine, said that it looked funny. It was white and gray, okay? And she got in the back seat of a car that she had slept in the night before, and she took a small hit of it, and she said, oh, okay, it's okay, it's good or whatever. So then she took it, and then she put the regular size piece in there that she would normally do, and she smoked that. She was like, oh, this is good. I'm going to go share it with such. So she got out of the car, and when she got out of the car, she couldn't walk. She hit the hood of the car, and she fell on the ground. And she said the last thing she was remembering, somebody was smacking her face and pinching her cheeks. And this is why I say God is good. Because my daughter was laying on the ground in the middle of the street dead. No heartbeat, no breath, no nothing. And a guy that she hates, and he hates her too, and they always into it when she's out there on the street. He was like, no, this ain't right, because everybody is sitting out there watching her dead on the street, okay? And nobody would pick up the phone to call 911. Now that's very sad, right? And so what had happened was, the guy that she couldn't stand, he said this isn't right, and he called 911, and the ambulance came, and they hit her with some Norcan, and she woke up. And that's why I say God is good, because my daughter died, but God brought her back. So God is good. So how do I feel about that? I feel effed up, okay? Because it's my child, and I love my child with everything in me. I don't like her ways because, you had 8 children, and drugs was more important than your kids. And I don't get that, because I think once you become a mother, them kids come first. And you should do everything in your power to make sure your kids are good. And she slept on that, and she didn't do it. She let drugs overtake her life. and he killed her. But God said, I'm not ready for you yet. I got something else that I need for you to do. Okay? I don't know what that is, but I got up and I got in the car and I went down and I told her, because we had just bought another new used car, and it's a used car but it's new to us. And I told her that it was a white car, and that it was a Chevy Malibu, and it was white in color, and that that's what she should be looking out for. She was like, well, what happened to the Hummer? And I was like, no, I still have it. I said, but I'm just driving this car. And so she was like, okay, because my daughter Beth was the one who called me and told me what happened, and she had told Beth not to tell me. And Beth was like, that's something that I'm just not going to keep from Mom, because that's something that's just too serious. And so since she know Beth was going to tell me, she called me herself. And then that's when I asked her where she was, and she told me she was on 87th in Detroit, in the back seat of the same car that she had slept in the night before, where she had took a hit of whatever the guy tried to kill her with, and which was fentanyl, by the way. The crack cocaine was laced with fentanyl, and if she hadn't, she always had a kind heart. She would give you the last dollar in her pocket, and if she was eating a sandwich and you was hungry, she would give it to you. Even if she hadn't ate for 3 or 4 days, she would give you her food, okay? Because that's just the type of person she is. So that's why she was like, oh, I'm going to go share with such and such. And that's why she was out of the backseat of that car. Had she not thought that to go share with whoever it was, she would have died in the backseat of that car, because she was in that car by herself. Okay? So, at any rate, I went down there, and the guy whose phone she had been using, and the guy whose car she had been in, he when we first rode down there, and because 87th in Detroit is a one-way, and so we had to go around and then come up 87th, and I didn't know what type of car she was in. I didn't even think to ask. I was just so shook that I didn't even think to ask what type of car she was in and what color it was or anything. And I had tried calling the number back, and it was going to voicemail. And so as we're driving up the street, you know, you see all these people out here, you know, the ones that's out here doing drugs, the ones that's out here selling the drugs. And it was the one guy standing there, and he was standing there like this, and he had his hand like this. And we can see clearly in his hand that he had a gun. And I guess the reason he had the gun was because we were riding up the street very slowly, because we didn't know which car she was in. And so therefore my husband had his on him, and I had mine in my hand, because I didn't know if he was finna, soon as he had to lift his hand up like he was about to do something, we was gonna light his ass up, you know. So he was gonna be gone, or we was gonna be gone. But we rode up the street and we didn't see her. And then I called the number back, and the guy answered the phone. He said, I'm walking down by the car wash right now. He said, but I see your car, because we had described the car, so he knew what we were in. And so then he came to the car, and he proceeded like he was going to get in the back seat, and my husband was like, no. Because my husband didn't know who he was, and didn't know if he was going to get in that car, and or if he had a gun and he was going to try and rob us or anything like that. My husband was like, no, just take me to her, because we wasn't too far away from 87th at that point. And so we pulled up to the corner of 87th, and he came down, and when we pulled up to the corner, I seen her get out of a car, and she was walking towards us. And she was like, hey Mom, hey Dad. And she got in the car, and the guy was there, and the guy was like, yeah, I helped her, you know, when she got out of the ambulance. I helped her, I put her in my car and everything, but I couldn't take her nowhere or do nothing with her, because I didn't have any gas in my car. My car had been stuck for a couple of days. So I went in my wallet, and I gave him $8 that I had in change in my wallet, and I gave him $8. And so then we brought her to my home, got her in the shower, got her some night clothes, got her underwear, bras, and all that kind of stuff. She's a little bit bigger than me, not that much, and but we're shaped different. And so most of my clothes she can fit, but some she can't because of the way, because she got hips and butts, and her mama don't. So anyway, um, I said, you can sleep in here, meaning the second bedroom. And she was like, can I just sleep in your room at the bottom of your bed? And I was like, she's like, well, can I just sleep at the bottom of your bed where the baby sleeps at when she comes over? And I was like, I had to ask her dad. I said, is it okay if she sleep in our room? And he was like, yeah, she could sleep in here. She said because she was scared. And so I got her the mattress that I have the baby sleep on when she comes over, and I gave her a cover and a pillow, and she was laying there and she was talking to me, and she was like, "Ma," she said, "when I was gone," she said, "it was all dark." She said, "I thought when you die, it'd be light, and I thought I would see Grandma Lily. I thought I would see Granddad. I thought I'd see Grandma Curry. I didn't see anything. It was just all dark. It's all been a lie all these years." And she started to cry. And maybe it was all dark because God wasn't ready for you yet. So they wasn't there to meet you. And she said, no, Ma. And she was like, it's just all a lie. It's just all a lie. It's when you're dead, you're dead. And I said, Quita, I said in the Bible, it says that when you dead, you're dead, but it's likened to sleep. So when you die, you just go to sleep. And then when Jesus come back to right the wrong that's been done in this world, when we come back and he resurrects us, then we'll be back and we'll see the light and we'll see all the people that we, you know, had down here on earth. And she was like, I don't know what to believe anymore. She said, because I was dead and I saw nothing but darkness. And I said, well, God is good. I said, because you could have been dead. I said, if you hadn't have thought that you wanted to share something with somebody, you would have been in the backseat of that car and you would have been dead. You would have been dead. You would have died of an overdose of fentanyl. Why is people putting stuff in fentanyl? They making fake pills here in Cleveland, and they're putting fentanyl in some of them and killing people. The heroin epidemic in Ohio is crazy. The opiate epidemic is just outrageous. And why is people doing what they're doing? Why is they just killing people? Okay, we know that they have problems and they doing drugs and they shouldn't be and all that kind of stuff, but why are you trying to kill them? Now, this is what I think, and I'm about to let y'all go because I know it's been a long video. I think it's the government that's doing that. That's having people putting fentanyl and heroin in pills, and now they're putting it in marijuana. You understand? I think it's the government. But I'm going to tell you this right here. The next morning, my daughter got up. Monica came over and took her to the hospital. She went into detox. So that was yesterday. And she will be there in detox for 4 days because that's how long it takes to detox you off of alcohol. And then she's going to a rehab place. They have a bed available for her. So I ask all of you out there in YouTube land to please pray for my daughter that this time she get clean and stay clean, because the people in this world are so cruel. But I thank you guys for listening to me talk, because YouTube is a way of me having an outlet. And then I asked her permission if I could tell the story. And she said, yeah, Ma, go ahead and tell the story. Thanks for asking. And she said, but don't say my kids' names. So I said, I would never say your children's names. You understand? What's the point of putting their names out there? And she said, my story might help somebody. And she said, and when I'm clean and I come back over to your house, she said, I want to sit down and do an interview with you and explain to people my side of the story. And I said, okay, that sounds good to me. So right now she's in detox, and then she should be going away to a rehab house. So thank you guys for listening to me talk. As always, I love you all. Talk to you later.